Hello again folks, hope you're still all well out there. Hey, out after the rabbits tonight, which I think is a first for this channel, as I usually reserve the rabbit footage for my other channel, HuntersVermin, with the air rifles. But tonight I'm going to use the rimfire, my Ruger 1022 Custom. I originally got it many years ago from Rimfire Magic, who tuned the trigger a wee bit and fitted a 16-inch heavy fluted green mountain barrel onto it. It originally came with a green Hoke overmolded stock on it, but I since changed that to a Archangel stock. The suppressor is a Wildcat Cub as far as I remember, and the scope is an Old Deben DMP 2.5 to 10 by 50. I originally intended to shoot this field after the silage was cut, when the grass was still short, from a prone position using a bipod, but that was over a month ago and the grass now is that long I'm going to have to do it from a sitting position using a set of Vanguard shooting sticks. I know it's not ideal sitting bolt upright in the middle of a field, but I can't wait to the second cut of silage as the farmer wants the rabbit numbers reduced now, as there's 2 fields of barley just behind the camera and the rabbits have been making a nuisance of themselves in it. I checked the rifle zero a few days ago at the range and even made myself up a little range card, the same as I would for the air rifles, even though I ended up not looking at it and wished I had, but you'll see that at the end. I'm using Winchester subsonics as I have plenty of them, and so far thankfully the rifle seems to be behaving itself with them. The NV add-on I'm using is one of the Pard NV007s. It's one of the very early units, though it still seems to do its job quite well, though I have to say I'm quite tempted in one of the newer, shorter units. Before I started, I had a little check with the rangefinder, and the hedgerow in front of me was about 27 yards away. The hedge to my left was about 53, roughly the rifle zero, and to my right near the barley fields was running 70 yards and more. It took a good while before I saw the first signs of movement. I actually at one point thought the rabbits weren't going to show as the wind was swirling about quite a bit tonight. My biggest problem seemed to be the long grass, as I could see the odd rabbit moving about, but they very quickly disappeared back into the long grass again, which was starting to prove quite frustrating. But finally I spotted one, or rather a set of ears. I gave it a wee squeak to see if it would raise its head out of the long grass. And finally we had the first one in the bag at about 40 yards. I then noticed that a second rabbit to my left had popped its head up with the sound of the shot. And we quickly had number 2 in the bag. A bit of time had passed when I noticed another rabbit had popped out of the hedgerow just 27 yards in front of me. It had its head well buried into the grass and I could just see the tips of its ears, so I started squeaking at it. And squeaking at it. And even squeaked a little more at it. But it just wouldn't raise its head. Was it a deaf rabbit? Then I realised that there was another rabbit on my far right, which had heard my squeaking and was sitting bolt upright, thumping the ground in alarm with its foot. I managed to get myself gently turned round and onto it. And put another one into the bag at about 40 yards. But unfortunately, the sound of the shot spooked the other rabbit back into the hedgerow again. Sod's law. After a bit more time waiting, I noticed another rabbit out in the hedgerow just up to my right hand side again. Again, this one had its head tucked well down into the long grass, so as I always do, I started lip squeaking to get it to raise its head up, and even barking. But no, it wouldn't raise its head up at all. In fact, it ran off and into the hedgerow. I'd never seen rabbits so unwilling to lift their head up. You'd almost think that they'd heard this trick before. And just to put the icing on the cake, as I set the rifle down to switch the camera off, a rabbit just popped out of the hedge right in front of me, about 27 yards away. I tried gingerly to slowly lift the rifle up, hoping that I might be able to get a shot, or at least get him on camera. But no, Mr. Rabbit saw the movement and hopped back into the hedge again. Thankfully though, another rabbit had appeared, a couple of yards to the left, and it hadn't spotted me through the long grass yet. Thankful that I had at least got one of the rabbits, I noticed another 2 sets of ears had popped up with the sound of the shot, a little further up the hedgerow to my left. The first one went down a treat, but the second one took a run to the right with the sound of the shot. I got onto it quickly, took aim and missed. How did I miss? It was only 30 yards away. Ah dear, don't tell me it's going to be one of those nights, hey? Oops, that could have been sore in the wedding tackle. Well, if you're going to sit there, I'll maybe leave you there. By the time another rabbit had appeared, it was dark enough to switch to the night vision. I could still see the odd bit of movement now and again, but to shoot with, I needed the MV on. Unfortunately though, the long grass was really playing havoc with the IR. I could see eye shine, but I couldn't get a proper silhouette, if you want, of the rabbit's head to get a clear shot, or even proper quarry identification. I needed more height to see over the long grass, so I extended the legs on the Vanguard tripod, which would allow me to get up onto a kneeling position and hopefully give me enough height to be able to see over the grass and see the rabbit properly. And what do you know, hey, it worked, and without spooking the rabbit too. Happy that had went to plan, I noticed the telltale white flash of a rabbit's tail heading towards the hedgerow on my left hand side, probably spooked by the sound of the shot. Again, this was another 53-yard shot once the rabbit raised its head up out of the grass. A quick look to see if any more of its friends are out, but unfortunately not this time. The night had really drawn in by this stage, so I switched to the Pard NV019 spotter to scan the hedgerow for rabbits. I spotted something across the field on my right hand side. I actually thought it was a fox sitting watching me at one stage, so I switched to the NV007 on the rifle for a better view. Not that I can shoot it, that is, as firearms and licensing here in Northern Ireland don't consider rimfires or high-powered air rifles suitable for fox control anymore, but I thought it would be nice if I could get it on film at least. But all I saw was a couple of rabbits and no fox. No big loss there really, cause at least I can shoot the rabbits. That is, if I can hit them it is. Because this is sort of where the wheels fell off my wagon, you could say. I had fitted the little LE-032 rangefinder to the side of the rifle, but I was having problems seeing the laser from it, and had to cover the IR unit on the NV007 with the palm of my hand to be able to see it. Then, when you were ready for the shot, the little blighters would duck down in below the level of the grass again where you couldn't see them, and no matter how much you squeaked at them, they wouldn't raise their heads again. Finally though, I got one to sit up long enough for the shot. The rangefinder said about 43 yards, which didn't seem right, as the rabbit looked to be a wee bit further away in the scope than that. But I decided to trust it and aim dead on. And totally missed, though I don't think I could really blame the rangefinder for that, as a low shot should have at least connected with the neck or chest. I spotted the second rabbit, which was sitting just outside the hedgerow on the left, which gave me a nice big target to laze to get a range, about 72 yards. This is where I made my second mistake. I really should have held a little high and taken the shot, but I decided to be smart and dial the range in for the shot. I also should have looked at my little range card, but it was dark and I didn't think I'd be able to see it, so I went off of memory and added 15 clicks, which was wrong. I should only have added about 9 clicks and probably put the bullet clean over its head. Realising now I needed a change of tactics, I decided to take my gear and move back 20 to 30 yards into the field and set the rifle up on the tripod, as I should be able to see and shoot the rabbits much easier in a standing position, and since it was fully dark now, I shouldn't stand out like a bump in a log. But I think by now I had totally spooked the field, as no more rabbits appeared. So I decided to cut my losses, gather my gear up and head next home. I still had the rabbits I'd shot to gather up, which thankfully didn't prove too difficult with a head torch, as the rabbits had kept the grass around the verges of the field quite low. In hindsight, I really should have been here weeks ago, before the grass really got a chance to grow up as long as this. I did think about taking them at longer range with the 17 Hornet from a neighbouring field that looks down onto this one, but the Hornet can be quite soaring rabbits, let's say, and I want to really eat these. And talk about eating, I'd love to show you my usual picture of the rifle and the rabbits I've shot all lined up, but I forgot to take one. So you'll just have to settle for a couple of pitchers of rabbit stew that the wife cooked up using a recipe from the Hairy Bakers, which was delicious. Take care, folks, and look after yourselves, hey.